Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Gate Daemonhunters, where I have to admit, and some of you have picked up on this in previous videos, I am starting to feel the lack of not having any dedicated long-range fire support. I mean, Paladin Thul's a bit of a badass, but I kind of miss when he was Purgator Thul, laying down extremely long-range fire support and interrupts with his silencer, but I'm starting to develop some strategies to make up for it, although I am wondering if it isn't too late to go back and train up another Purgator.
The Ultramarines appear to have been holding this ground until a recent Death Guard assault.
Curious. I would not have expected Nurgle to use direct force to lay the groundwork for the Bloom.
Yes, the Plague Lord's methods are generally more indirect. Perhaps this skirmish held some other purpose.
So, relatively straightforward mission. Destroy a bunch of seed carriers. However, this time around, because I am getting very short on requisition points, I've decided to accept the glorious deed, which is finish the mission before you take 35 damage. And we all know how well that worked out the last time, don't we? Slightly different team this time around. Instead of Purgator Thul, I'm bringing Justicar Iolanthus around. You see, this is part of my coping strategy for not having lots of long-range support. Because what's been tending to happen is that, at least in the first turn of combat, I'm spending most of my action points and often a lot of willpower just to get to within melee range of the bad guys. But with Justicar Iolanthus' Honour the Chapter ability, he can keep various different teammates topped up with action points, although this does come at the cost of his own willpower. But that's where Chaplain Storm comes in, because he can basically function as a mobile willpower battery for the rest of the team, by transferring his willpower to them. In addition to that, Librarian Thoros has been working out, and has a new trick that he's just itching to bring to the party. Oh, and there's the first patrol. And I do not like the look of that. Two Death Guard Plague Marines in Terminator armour. One of them with an autocannon, and the other one, this guy, he's basically a Paladin, isn't he? He's doing exactly the same shit that Paladin Thul did, which means anybody who approaches these guys in melee is going to get bitch slapped to infinity and beyond. And that's a big problem, because I have a very heavily melee focused squad. So how am I going to deal with this? Well, I'm going to start by extracting that seed. It's a red one this time. I don't have a lot of those. That's going to come in useful. I also note that they are standing right next to a plasma cell, so if I can detonate that, that would be fun. However, they're in Terminator armour, not power armour. If they were Death Guard Plague Marines in power armour, detonating the power cell behind them would knock them towards me, making it easier for me to get them into melee combat. But you can't do a knockback on anybody in Terminator armour. So Librarian Thoros is going to open up with his new trick, Vortex of Doom. This is a lovely ability. It's basically a ranged psychic blast attack that, when fully upgraded, will do a crap ton of damage, and even when not fully upgraded, which right now it isn't, it's removed 15 points of armour and a chunk of health from those two Terminators. I followed it up with a brand new stratagem, Dominate, which means the guy defending has just been mind controlled and is now effectively on my side, although I don't have any direct control over him. But he is now the closest enemy to the guy with the autocannon, so that should be all kinds of fun. I've moved Apothecary Harn up with the intention of shooting at that plasma cell, but I, for some reason, can't actually hit it from here, so I'll shoot up the guy with the shield and inflict a bleed on him. I'm going to move Chaplain Storm up, checking the line of sight, making sure I can actually still have some action points left to do stuff and have a line of fire. I open up with a Psych Out grenade. Unfortunately, this is a Psych Out grenade and not a frag grenade, so it's going to do some damage and it's also going to silence them, but it's not going to detonate the plasma cell because it's not actually an explosive. But that's alright. I can just shoot the plasma cell with his final action point. I've never used the Dominate stratagem before, so I'm curious to see what's actually going to happen to that Plague Champion, because he is still defending that area and he's still going to smack anybody who walks into it. So, you know, I don't want to do that. Normally, at this point, I'd just be teleporting an interceptor storm in and carving up the very limited remaining health on those two enemies, but I can't really afford to do that. So we'll just move him up and take a shot. Choice of two targets, and he could outright kill the guy with the autocannon, which is tempting, but I don't know what will then happen to the mind-controlled guy. So we'll shoot him up, it won't kill him, but it will soften up and make him easier to kill. Depending on who it is who kills him, it could be us, but he's been mind-controlled, he might kill his teammate might kill him. He doesn't quite kill his teammate. The guy with the autocannon appears to have maybe 1 health left, but he's now going to go for the nearest enemy, right? Wrong. Instead, he uses the autocannon to intercept the storm, and then he drops a grenade between him and Chaplain Storm. I feel kind of cheated. That's not how this is supposed to happen. What happened to going for the nearest enemy? I guess these Death Guard Terminators are smarter than they look. Either way, it's a bit of a pain, because now, on a mission... I mean, I left these guys out in the open because I thought, well, I've mind-controlled one of them, the other one's going to attack him, and then they didn't. So on a mission where I have to complete it without taking 35 damage, I'm now taking 7 damage. I mean, I'm going to kill these guys. So I'm not going to take any further damage in this turn, or in this encounter, but still, I mean, come on. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to start treating these enemies with a little bit more respect, because, I mean, if you stop to think about it, that was actually the smart thing for the Blight Lord Terminator to do. I mean, this isn't actually a bad thing when you do stop to think about it, because while I absolutely love XCOM 2, that would have worked in XCOM 2. Bad guys always go for the closest enemy. But not in Chaos Gate. They make smarter decisions. Well, anyway, we're going to finish this guy off. Now that he's no longer defending, we can close in melee. So we'll finish him off with Chaplain Storm, because he's the one who needs the experience. Him and Librarian Foros. He's going to take 2 hits, but he's got this. Right, 7 damage taken. 7 damage that I didn't anticipate taking, but hey, I did. 3 more seed carriers to go. It's interesting that this particular battlefield is covered in Space Marine drop pods, because apparently the Ultramarine chapter are actually present on this planet and fighting against the forces of chaos. Because, well, here's the thing about the Grey Knights, they're not really a chapter of Space Marines in the same way that all, well, not all other Space Marines belong to individual chapters like the Space Wolves, the Ultramarines, the Imperial Fists, the Salamanders, the Blood Angels, and so on and so on and so on. It's true that most Space Marines are organised into chapters. There are 1,000 chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, each consisting of 1,000 Space Marines, so there's 1,000,000 Space Marines. Well, there aren't. There are exceptions. The Black Templars, for example, there's a lot more than 1,000 Black Templars because they're not a chapter, they're a legion. The Grey Knights are also not a chapter. But even 1,000,000 Space Marines, it sounds like a lot, but it really isn't when you consider the untold trillions that make up the Imperium of Man. All of those millions of Imperial Guard regiments, all of the forces of the Adeptus Mechanicus, and so on and so on, will very likely live their admittedly very short and brutal lives without ever seeing a Space Marine. And in the case of the Grey Knights, never seeing one is not a bad thing, because, like I said, the Grey Knights are not a chapter of Marines in the traditional sense. For a start, they're all Psykers, and also, even knowledge of their existence is a closely guarded secret. There are Ultramarines present on this planet, fighting against the forces of chaos, but if we were to come across any of our brother Marines during the course of this mission, those Marines would have their minds wiped afterwards. And if we were to come across anybody unfortunate enough to be in the Imperial Guard during the course of this mission, the entire regiment would just be executed in order to preserve the secret of the very existence of the Grey Knights. Because here's the thing, I mean, people who aren't into Warhammer 40k or only have a cursory knowledge of, you know, Space Marines and so on, probably think that the Imperium of Man are the good guys. They are not. More on that in a moment. First, right, this guy's setting up Overwatch. There's a Blight Hauler. How am I going to handle this without taking any more damage? So, there's another patrol over there. I need to be careful I don't get that patrol as well. Unfortunately, that means I'm not really able to close to melee with these guys either. Otherwise I might see the other patrol and drag them in. So the first thing I'm going to do is, of course, extract the Chaos Seed. So, how am I going to deal with this lot? Well, where's Librarian Foros? There he is. Right then. Oh, he doesn't quite yeah, Vortex of Doom doesn't have unlimited range. Unlike Smite, by the way, which can be upgraded to have unlimited range, but now he's close enough to hit all three of them with the Vortex of Doom. This ability is so good. Just look at that. Now then, Intercept the Storm's going to do his thing, and he doesn't even need onto the chapter for this. Oh, we can't get the third one. And I'd like to... No, he's not within line of sight, and I have to teleport, or finish the teleport to somewhere that's within line of sight. So that's as far away as I can get him from the other patrol. Kills the first two, does not trigger the other patrol. And with his second action point, kill the third guy. And with his third and final action point, he can actually hit the Blight Hauler. So, yeah. A Marine Terminator armor probably wouldn't have enough movement to get there and hit that thing with one action point, but Intercept the Storm can because he's wearing power armor. Right then, Chaplain Storm. I can bust in through the window to here and still have 2 action points left. Unfortunately, while he can shoot the Blight Hauler, because of range penalties with his Storm Bolter, it's only going to do 1 damage. Then again, Intercept the Storm is standing right next to it. He will get a reaction attack off because he's right next to it. It's going to do 2 damage, which leaves it on 3 health. Chaplain Storm, well, he's got an action point left, and boosting it with a Cyborg doesn't seem to be doing any extra damage, so we may as well shoot it. And now I have a bit of a problem, because now I need to move somebody up to a spot where they actually have line of fire and have an action point left to do something with it. I need to be very careful not to trigger that patrol. I can't just jump somebody through the window now because Chaplain Storm is blocking it. Shit. Yeah, I can move to there, but I won't have an action point left. I might have just dug myself a hole here. Unless... yeah, we'll just... I mean, I could use the Quicksilver stratagem to give Interceptor Storm a couple of action points and let him finish the job. It does seem like a bit of a waste of a stratagem though, but I don't really see what else I can do. Yeah, we're going to do it. Because I don't want to take any more damage. I've already taken 7 more than I thought I was going to take. So, Intercept the Storm gets another 2 action points, and he finishes the Blight Hauler off, and he only needs 1. A bit of a waste of resources, but at the end of the day, they're all dead, and I haven't taken any more damage. So, yeah, about the Imperium of Man not being the good guys. Let me just give you one example of the unbelievable brutality of the Imperium of Man. So, we know that all Grey Knights are Psykers. It's one of the things that makes them special. But they're not the only Space Marines who have psychic powers. All Marine chapters have Librarians and Chaplains who will also have psychic powers. Pretty much all Inquisitors also have some form of psychic ability. But these are the cream of the crop of the trillions in the Imperium of Man. Millions have psychic abilities. Most of them probably won't even be aware that they are Psykers. Their abilities will just be latent and they haven't manifested. Some of them will have manifested psychic abilities, but very weak psychic abilities. Weak enough that they're never actually going to be useful. But all of these Psykers are incredibly dangerous, because the demons of the warp can gain a foothold into reality through the mind of a Psyker and wreak untold devastation. So how does the Imperium deal with this massive threat? Well, we'll come on to that in a moment. First, Librarian Foros is going to do his Vortex of Doom thing again. I love this ability so much. And remember, it's not even fully upgraded. I think fully upgraded it will do 8 damage. Armor piercing damage, it completely bypasses armor. 8 damage over a pretty big blast area. It is a phenomenally useful ability. I'm moving Apothecary Hahn up here to shoot at that plasma cell, because that seems like the logical thing to do, but apparently it's out of line of sight, so that's a bit of a bummer. And he's only got the 1 action point left, so what am I going to do with it? Well, I could shoot one of them, but the Plague Ridden's Cloud of Flies is going to reduce any range damage to him and anybody around him, i.e. almost all of those bad guys, by 2. So instead, Warp Speed Biomancy on Intercept the Storm, who unfortunately has been caught stuck at the back of the pack and has got a lot of distance to cover. So this is going to give him increased movement, and more importantly, increased crit damage. Next, the one enemy that I can't actually reach is the Plague Marine in cover there behind the drop pod. So to encourage him to not shoot anybody and instead walk over here to where he can get his head kicked in, I'm going to use Chaplain Storm's Provoke ability, which is basically a ranged taunt. So I don't have to worry about any ranged attacks from the Plague Marine. And of course, the other enemies are all melee enemies, so they're going to come this way anyway. Chaplain Storm still has 1 action point left. I'm not entirely sure what to do with it. You know what? I think we'll stick a pin in that and come back later. With the Warp Speed Biomancy buff up, Intercept the Storm covers a lot more distance for 1 action point. It's still not enough though. Not to get within effective teleport strike range. I really and I know you guys keep saying this, and eventually I'll start doing it. I should have used the teleport ability, because you can cover a lot more distance for 1 action point and 1 willpower by teleporting, and you might get the action point back. But, you know, I've started, so I'll finish. He's now easily within teleport strike range, and he's going to kill the 2 Plague Bearers and severely hurt the Plague Ridden. I think I'm going to warp charge it though to do even more damage to the Plague Ridden, and he may get the action point back. And yep, he does. So he can now attack the Plague Ridden again. A Force Strike won't kill it, but a Hammer Hand melee attack might, because remember, he has the Warp Speed Biomancy buff up, which means he does bonus crit damage, and a Hammer Hand attack is a basic guaranteed crit. So he does slaughter the Plague Ridden, gets the willpower point back for the kill, and, well, he still has another action point, which I'm going to use to set up Overwatch, because that Plague Marine is going to make a beeline straight for Chaplain Storm, because he's the one who cast the Provoke on him. So he's going to have to walk through, hopefully, well, okay, 1 zone of Overwatch in order to get there. And he doesn't have enough action points to do anything when he arrives. But now there are some reinforcements. Because of the Warp Surge, of course. However, since this planet is covered by my Prognosticars, everybody in the squad gets a willpower point back every time there's a Warp Surge. It's so nice having Prognosticar coverage. We're going to extract that seed before killing him. Should have probably done this earlier, but hey, whatever. It's a free action. I'll do it now. Now then. So we're getting reinforcements through that warp gate.
Unleash me.
There's only 1 seed carrier left, actually. Obviously, we need to finish this guy off. So how are we going to do it? Remembering that I would prefer to get the kills on the Chaplain or the Librarian, because these are the guys who need the experience. Oh, nice. We'll get an Execute. Cool. There's a bonus action point for everybody. We're stunning this guy, and I do love these Librarian execution animations. That Warp Rift is a fair old distance away. And even with the bonus action point from the Execute, I'm not sure I can get everybody into a position where they can cover it with Overwatch and get ready to slaughter everybody coming out of it. So instead, I'm just going to put everybody into cover. Because I haven't actually taken any more damage, other than the 7 damage that I unexpectedly took from the Blight Lord Terminator, who didn't attack the closest enemy in the first encounter. Like I said, I really need to start paying a bit more respect to the intelligence of the opponents in Chaos Gate, because it's not quite as simple as XCOM 2 was. I mean, I love XCOM 2, but enemies were a lot more predictable. So I'm going to set up as much cover and fire on that Warp Rift as I possibly can. bearing in mind that if you're in hard cover and you do Overwatch around it, you're no longer in hard cover, because if you can shoot them, they can shoot you. But these guys are in Terminator armor. They should be fine. Let's get those Overwatch zones set up and see what happens in the next turn. I do find Overwatch to be a bit underwhelming in Chaos Gate compared to something like XCOM 2, because while in XCOM 2 an Overwatch shot did have a reduced chance of actually hitting the target, unlike here where, you know, if you shoot something you're going to hit it, you don't do a lot of damage with Overwatch fire in this game. And in XCOM 2 you would do the full damage of whatever. Whoa, shit. Okay. That's, yeah. It's a dreadnought. Right. The good news is, I mean, I moved Intercept Storm up there in the anticipation that he was going to get a whole bunch of reaction attacks off against anything that came through that warp rift, and, well, he didn't. But he is now right next to the dreadnought. So, I'm going to shoot it, because I don't trust these dreadnoughts anymore. They, when they die, you get a message saying it will explode at the end of the next turn. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it explodes at the end of the current turn. And I haven't quite figured out the rules. So I'm going to play this as safe as I possibly can and just shoot this thing a lot. Now, you might be thinking, Jingles, you're never going to kill a dreadnought with Stormbolter. I mean, you will, but it will take a long time, and it's going to get to fight back. But there is a method to my madness, because I don't know if you noticed how much stun damage Interceptor Storm was doing. His Stormbolter does bonus stun, and even more bonus stun if you charge it up with a Cybolt. So while Chaos Dreadnoughts are normally very, very, very difficult to stun, not so when you've got Interceptor Storm standing within Stormbolter range. It is now stunned. Now the challenge is getting somebody over there to execute it. And Apothecary Harn, yep, you're up. I used to be scared of these things. Right, get the hell out of there. Let it explode. Okay, we're fine, we're done. That's this one dealt with, just one more seed carrier to go. Anyway, while we're waiting for that to happen, more on the insane brutality of the Imperium of Man. We were talking about Psychers and how most Psychers don't even have enough psychic power to know that they are Psychers, and yet even that tiny amount of psychic ability can be extremely dangerous, because it provides this little foothold, this tiny crack in reality that can be enough for a Chaos Demon to possess the Psyker and wreak untold havoc. So how does the Imperium deal with this massive threat? Well, that's one of the primary reasons that the Inquisition exists. One of the main jobs of Inquisitors is to hunt down rogue Psychers. But what do they do with those rogue Psychers when they catch them? Well, if they're strong enough, and this doesn't happen often, but if they're strong enough and they can be trained to resist demonic possession, they often end up becoming Inquisitors themselves. But if they're not, well, here's where we need to take a step back. 10,000 years back, actually, to the end of the Horus Heresy, when the Emperor was mortally wounded, and the only way to keep him technically alive was to construct the Golden Throne, which the Emperor has been sitting on for the last 10,000 years, and it's a sort of combination telepathic beacon and life support machine. You see, the only reason the Imperium of Man can exist is literally through the will of the Emperor, because for the last 10,000 years the Emperor's mind has been broadcasting a telepathic beacon, which Imperial astropaths can use to navigate their ships through the warp. It's the only thing that makes interstellar travel possible in the Imperium. Now, this requires an extraordinary amount of psychic power, and while the Emperor is the most powerful Psyker that has ever been, he's not that powerful. Not powerful enough to keep this galaxy-spanning telepathic beacon going for 10,000 years. So he needs a little bit of extra juice, and the Golden Throne gets that extra juice by having thousands of Psykers sacrificed to it every day. The death screams of thousands of psychic innocents every day for 10,000 years are what are providing the necessary energy to keep a basically corpse broadcasting the telepathic beacon that makes the Imperium possible. And the Golden Throne's been going a bit wonky over the last couple of thousand years, and it requires more and more psychers every day just to generate the same amount of telepathic power. And the Imperium solution is to just feed it more psychers. Yeah, good guy's my arse. Oh, that's the last seed carrier. This will trigger the end of the mission.
That's got them. Commander, I recommend you fortify until you can be extracted. You have some unpleasant company.
But of course, on a seed carrier mission, killing the last seed carrier or extracting the last seed doesn't actually end the mission, it just triggers all of the remaining reinforcements that the Forces of Chaos have. So, stratagem time. Give me that Gate of Infinity. Let's kill these guys as quickly as possible. I've actually managed to get this far without taking any further damage. What the hell's going on? Right, Librarian Foros, Vortex of Doom. That's going to severely injure, or at the very least, I mean, it stripped all of the armor off the Terminator. Yeah, I'm going to go. I don't need any more willpower. This is the end of the mission. So, Force Strike, kill that guy in one hit. Because remember, everybody's lost an action point because I used the Gate of Infinity stratagem, so they only have 2. So, I'm just going to blow the remaining willpower to get these kills down as quickly as possible. 2 down, 1 to go. But it's the big one. And gut him with Apothecary Harm twice. 11 health left. Where's Interceptor Storm? Actually, no, Chaplain Storm still has an attack. Go on then. 7 health left. Interceptor Storm. 2 hits. Yeah, 2 hits will do it. I mean, I'll go for the stun. It doesn't matter. He's going to die in the next hit. Stun or not. Right, now, I just have to deal with the reinforcements. And... yeah. Right. 1 Terminator, 1 Plague Marine with bonus armor. Do I really want to bother though? I mean, I have to hold 2 turns for extraction, and they've warped in all the way over there. And they're going to get to shoot me on the way in because they're Plague Marines, they've got guns. So do I really want to walk into their line of fire? You know, I don't think I do. In retrospect, I should have probably set up Overwatch on the corner here, because this guy does actually have enough movement, surprising because he's in Terminator armor, to get here and take an attack, which does minimal damage. This guy gets to the door, and that's as far as he gets. Mission complete. Had to do it without taking 35 damage. Which I was surprisingly easily able to do. I mean, we can argue all day whether or not I actually deserve to take that initial 7 damage, and I probably did because I just didn't respect the intelligence of the enemies. So, who knows, maybe I'll even learn a lesson from this. But glorious deed complete. I now have 9 available requisition points. Unfortunately, the armory access rewards for this mission are kind of shit. They're all just... I mean, there's even tier 1 Terminator armor there. A tier 2 war gear. You know what? No. I'm saving my requisition points for the good stuff. Oh, Librarian Foros has a promotion to rank 7. And I've been saying that his Vortex of Doom isn't fully upgraded, and that's technically true because I haven't taken the warp charge. But it just does, well, it disables ranged attacks on mechanical targets. And honestly, I don't really see the point. I mean, it's not a terrible buff, but there are better things that I can be spending ability points on. Imperium Domination here, for example. It reduces the warp surge to begin with by 25%, but there are 2 upgrades. And when fully upgraded, it will reduce the warp surge by 100%. I mean, I can see this coming in useful, but at the same time, I'm not really sure I want it. Because when I'm doing a mission on a planet covered by my prognosticars, and I almost have full prognosticar coverage, I gain willpower for everybody in the squad on a warp surge. I'll tell you what is really useful though. No, not the smite discipline. I mean, you know, yes. Armor piercing, unlimited range attacks. That's obviously useful. But you have to go through the smite discipline to get to the psychic scream discipline, which is basically a ranged area of effect stun. Oh yeah. I love Librarian Foros. So anyway, successful mission, successful glorious deed, and I got 15 servitors out of it, which means I can actually afford to continue to upgrade the ship, so it's all good. So anyway, that's it for today. Another successful mission. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, be pure, be vigilant, behave.